Well, hi everybody. This is Cindy from Energized Living Today, and Masami is joining us today because, as I told you a while ago, she is part of developing these 7 storms. Not developing as in inciting them, but in clarifying them. And, when I got the 7 storms, some of them came through very clearly and some of them did not. And then I was told that the reason the second one kept feeling wrong is because it contributes to all of the others in creating them. And so today in the World Viewing Room, it is a discussion. It is a brainstorming. How do you like that? These are 7 storms, and we are supposed to brainstorm about the 7 storms to gain more clarity. And that's why I felt despair because I kept trying to figure it out. And I realized that these 7 storms create despair. And that's why I was feeling it, and I wasn't getting it. So I started feeling it, and then this morning, Uriel said, "What are you feeling?" And I said, "I'm feeling this horrible despair." And then I heard, exactly. These 7 storms create despair. And so 7 angels will be dispatched to help you navigate these 7 storms.
This is Linda.
Hi, Linda.
Hi, I posted on Facebook that my father passed.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
He lived a long life. It was just bad, as anyone knows, going through COVID. You can't hug anybody. You can't even cry because you have a mask on.
Yeah.
And it was very difficult. But if you saw on Facebook, I posted that he was able to hold my mother's hand during his passing. And it was just so precious. I wasn't there. My brother, fortunately, was there for the last few minutes, but my sister and I came in after. But at least he was with the woman he loved so dearly. My mother is in the balance. She'll probably be passing soon. But anyway, I just wanted to thank you all for all your love and prayers.
I'm so sorry for your loss, and I'm holding you, and we are all holding you in our prayers. Every morning, it is now my ritual and one of the brightest times of my day to place people into the prayer wave. And when you direct your energy to the prayer wave, everyone that is placed there receives it in the amount that they need. And even for people that are passing, they're receiving our love, and they're transitioning into their new world, or back to the world that they knew before they came here. As they're transitioning, they're receiving our love, and they so appreciate it. And I can feel that spark every single time. And so continue the prayer wave for anyone who needs prayers, regardless of what it's for. Please send them to me, and I will respond. Over the weekend, it's harder for me to respond to everybody, by the way, because Ferris's son is here helping us get everything set up. So if I don't get back with you, I will. But know that you are placed, or your loved ones are placed in the prayer wave. And then as everyone prays, it just infuses the wave with love and healing energy. So keep it going. Let's keep it going. May I find a way to prayer when I am often sleeping at 8 a.m. Yes. And if you are sleeping at that time, then just jump into the wave whenever you can. I actually jump in early because I'm an early riser. So either I do 6 a.m. or I do 7 a.m. And then I'm in the wave of people that are praying at 8 a.m. wherever. And if it's 7, then I am jumping in with the people on Eastern time. So that's okay too. So whenever you can jump in, just jump in. And then do your boosters throughout the day. Many of you are seeing 11:11. This is a gateway time for us. We are entering into a new time. and our world is transforming. And so when you see that 1111, just do a little booster prayer and just keep the prayer wave in mind. And it just takes moments, or 111. If there are any double digit numbers that are speaking to you that you keep seeing, then stop and just do a booster prayer during the day. And I do that all the time. And it's amazing how often I just turn right at the moment. It's 11:11. And the other thing that I'm getting is 11:10. And I'm seeing that all the time. And I believe 11:10 is a date. Also, before we get started, I wanted everyone Mary commented about my peace sign just before we started. And this peace sign, I actually found in a box that I was going through of my dad's things. And I found a whole bunch of socks. And I found some of his shorts and different things that we're going to be donating. But this I wanted to keep because we actually, there's a picture on Facebook, I'll try and find it. And he was wearing it at this party that we went to. It was a 70s dance. So 60s and 70s, and it was all about peace and love. And it was so much fun. And I found this and I just thought, oh my gosh, this feels so right to wear here in the World Viewing Room. So I'm going to start wearing this. And I feel my dad when I have this on, and it just fills me with joy. And isn't this what we are invoking? Peace and love. That is what we are asking for, and that we're getting guidance in right now. So it just feels really right. And for the socks, I found all these socks, and all of a sudden I just heard, send them to your siblings for Father's Day. And why that is so meaningful is I'm sending each of them one sock, because my dad had an amputated leg. So he only wore one sock. And I just heard, send a sock to each of your siblings for Father's Day. So that will be very meaningful. And it made me cry when I thought of it. So, Linda, my dad died this year too, in March. So I keep hearing from him. And there's a lot going on over there. And he's one of our divine angels that are in the earth, in the light brigade, in the heavenly light brigade. Because Uriel has been guiding me, and he is the angel, as I said before, he's the angel of creativity, but he's also the angel of wisdom. And my aunt always said, if you're taking a test, you call on Archangel Uriel to be with you, to help you to find the right answers. And so, that's how I always have thought of Archangel Uriel. But he is also the angel that told Noah about the coming storms. And so when I kept talking about, that one of the plagues that I saw was the weather, it was actually the 7 storms. I kept saying weather, the word weather, because sometimes I don't always understand the heavenly language, and it doesn't come clear to me. And it takes a little time for it to do that. And so Uriel finally sent me the 7 storms. But one of the storms I was not clear on, and Masami and I were talking yesterday, and it didn't feel right. And so we will talk about that on the call today as we go into the World Viewing Room. So I want everyone, if you will, to just, first let's just close our eyes and relax your shoulders and your body, and release any negative emotions that do not serve you. Feel the peace of unconditional love wash over you. As we enter the World Viewing Room, where 2 or more are gathered, it transforms into our World Viewing Center. As we enter the World Viewing Center, we see the arched window, And as we look through it, we see the world. Wherever we focus our attention, it lights up. As we look out into the world, we are looking through the eyes of God. We are seeing the world through the eyes of God. God is with us, and all of the angels and the light brigade. Now let's all just hold hands. Because here we are safe. There is no coronavirus. There is no germs. We are safe. We are safe. It is so beautiful to touch. And now hug each other because we are safe. We are safe here. The hug feels so good. The touch feels so good. I would like to read the wisdom that I received this week from God. You say you love the rainbow in all its beauty, yet man has condemned the colors in the human rainbow. To condemn one of my colors as unworthy of love and justice is to condemn all of my rainbows. I'm going to go through the 7 storms. Andrew, as we talk about them, can you make note in chat? And 7 angels will be dispatched to help you navigate these 7 storms. The first of the 7 storms is envy. Envy erupts from unfulfilled need. It's like lava that covers the land in lust and greed and revenge. It is the absolute destruction of trust. Patricia said, yes. And Patricia, I need to talk to you. The second one, and this is the one that didn't feel right. There was, I couldn't understand it clearly, but how it came out, I'm giving you as it came out. Ignorance, especially willful ignorance, gives birth to rebellion. It invites willful deception, and it is the absolute destruction of wisdom. Deceit, and I'm going to let you go ahead and as I'm reading this, just for you to just put the one word in, Andrew. Deceit is an invisible storm. Deceit, the absolute destruction of truth. The fourth one is division. Division cracks open the earth, dividing us and swallowing others. It is the absolute destruction of unity. Prejudice is a virus that takes down lives. It is the absolute destruction of acceptance. Judgment is a storm that is out of control and is the absolute destruction of compassion. Rebellion, especially rebellion for rebellion's sake, erodes the earth we stand on. It erodes our value and is the absolute destruction of order. The 7 storms leave in their wake despair, and they are the absolute destruction of hope. And without hope, there is no love. Calmly sit in the eye of these storms and observe them, and you will not be destroyed by them. And this is something I channeled just before we got on. Even love, when we turn a blind eye to what's going on in the world, can be a storm of destruction. It is unconditional love, while not closing your eyes to what is going on. That is our salvation. So Masami and I got together, and let's go ahead, Masami, and let's talk about these. And when we get to prejudiced, I want you to talk about being the zebra. Okay.
Yes.
But let's start with, and I did not know this. I wrote these out, and she went, "Oh my gosh, these are following the chakras," which I didn't know. I just wrote them down as they were coming to me. And they've been, it feels like they're sputtering through me. I don't know how else to say it. They've been difficult on my physiology, and they've been hard to digest because I don't think of anything as absolute. And yet I'm told it is the absolute destruction, which I wanted to change those words so bad, and I'm not allowed to. So let's talk about the first one, which is envy. And envy erupts from unfulfilled need. So let's start our conversation there. And Masami?
Maybe before we start that, I think the feeling that you texted me this morning was despair. And, I feel that the despair comes through with all of them. I think all of us feel that. Mm-hmm. And so we're not using the word despair for the second one or anything. It's a feeling tone to me that we all are dealing with. We're having to digest them. And we'll go into the willful ignorance, but the envy stems from, and I was writing this morning, but feeling of discontentment and tribalism. So when I looked into this, when you said this word, I went straight to my first chakra, went straight to my pubic bone, and then my legs. So this is one of the things that maybe not all of you know about me, but I feel it in my body. That's why I do the physical work. So my process is always physical. So where I felt it was a pain in my pubic bone. And the envy stems from the survival. Like we feel like we're just surviving and not thriving as human beings, as Earth. The Earth will thrive if humans weren't destroying it. So that sense of deep sorrow came through me. And the envy stems from believing that we don't have enough, that not enoughness.
And that's when it started from, let me mute Penny there. It started with, it erupts from unfulfilled need. So the word need kept coming up as, this is where envy, I want what you have, and jealousy, and coveting. Mm-hmm. Coveting what somebody else has because you envy, and if you can't get it yourself, you take it.
It stems from the place of not the collaboration but competition, and believing that you have to compete with one another to get the resources. Somehow we've been taught that, even though there is an abundance here. Divine is abundant. So we're always given, and we're always able to sustain who we are. But there's a belief system that entered in, and this entered in years ago, but particularly I would say in the 70s and 80s were pretty hard. of this winners will take it all. If you don't work hard enough, you're not going to get it. You know, those comments, not enough for you. You know, you must go and capture what you want and what you need, or somebody else is going to take that. So that's been ingrained in us. As the educational system does the same thing. They're basically lining people up and say, you're the best, you're the worst. And so it's this idea that we don't get what we need, and we're scrambling to get what we need. And that creates separations, that creates tribalism, that creates, I'm better than you, and you're loser team, and I'm not. So that envy stems from that, of not knowing that we all are given what we need in this moment, truly.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I'm glad that you brought up that word need.
Yeah, envy really gives birth to it. I mean, need gives birth to that storm of envy.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, I started thinking about all the things that happen when someone envies someone else. You know, they envy a relationship, so they try and steal that person from someone else.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so that's where the lust, the greed, the revenge on someone else. The revenge was a big connection. I saw that in really huge letters written on Uriel's scroll as he was writing these out. You know, envy and revenge was a big one that it creates, looking at someone and, you know, the destruction of it destroys, people use it to destroy someone else because they can't have what they've got, that other person's got. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. I mean, the immigration law that we're dealing with right now stems from this.
Yeah.
That whoever the they is, they are taking my job away. My need is not fulfilled because of them. So envy is a very deep, dark energy, and vibrationally, it's one of the lowest energy, vibration word. Vibrationally, when you're in envy place, you can't think of anything else but yourself and your pity self, and you don't look at the wider view and say, I am fulfilled. The feeling of fulfillment isn't there. So it stems from a deep-seated belief system that we've created over generations and generations that are teaching us we don't have enough. So it stems from not enough, not having enough. Yeah.
And it stems from looking at someone else and believing that they are better than you, and so therefore you must destroy them. You know, I realize that every Disney movie starts with envy. You know, look at Cinderella and the evil queen, and how she envied Cinderella's beauty, and so she wanted to destroy her. That eroded that relationship and that trust. It erodes trust. Does that feel right for everyone? And let's go ahead and have, if anybody wants to raise their hand. Again, this is about...
I'll read some comments.
Okay.
Marcia says, envy is total lack of personal responsibility for self, victimhood. Patricia says, we see ourselves as victims, powerless. I raised my hand because it's interesting when we're talking, when you're talking about the 7 plagues. There's something similar. I texted you an image that I took of my friend's. My friend wrote a book called The 7 Graces of Marketing, and she has the 7 graces, the 7 deadly sins of marketing. And I don't know if you want me to read them or I should wait till the end with the sins. If you want, check your phone and you'll see the list. But it's basically disconnection, persuasion, invasion, distraction, deception, scarcity, and competition. And it's almost in line with the plagues because these are all what can derive from like envy, because people will distract people to try and get what they want in all these plagues. And at the end, if you want to give, well, another discussion another day. But anyways.
Okay. All right. Thank you. And Monroe has she said raised hand. She doesn't know how to raise the hand. So Monroe, you want to come
Monroe,
on?
Yeah, I didn't see the raise hand on my option list, unfortunately.
Oh.
So basically, yeah, it's the first time I didn't see it. But number one, I felt despair last night when I was meditating before I went to bed, and after I, felt it very strongly, it was like, okay, how else can you look at it? So I was offered different ways of dealing with that feeling, absorbing the feeling, and yet purposefully putting my attention on other things. So that's for another thing. On envy, and I was with a group of homeless people the other day who don't have food, they don't have a place to home. And what did they ask? Who can we pray for? And I said, Ferris. Okay, we don't know who Ferris is, but they did pray. So if you think about the worldwide, if you think about Syria, if you think about the people that cross Myanmar into Bangladesh, that don't have a home, that are forced into unhuman ways of living, that does it spur envy? It certainly spurs despair, and it starts to go through all of the different systems, because there is well, what's going on? Why is this happening to me? And there is, not to be conspiracy theorist or anything, but I do believe that there is a concerted effort to control what's happening in the world around us, and we are just the recipients. So to the extent that we can take our sovereign power back without harming others is our duty.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I was told when I got these, Monroe, that these are not unfamiliar. They have been spoken before. And these are the main storms that are brewing right now, that people are trying to use as control.
Right.
And we allow it to control. And one of the reasons that probably Masami's been going through the same thing, we're feeling despair, is because God wants us to understand what others are feeling.
Right.
We can't change what we don't understand. And so by feeling it ourselves, we can look outside ourselves and go, that's what so-and-so must be feeling right now.
Yeah.
Because I don't feel despair. I never do. It's so rare. It comes from someone else or
Right.
somewhere else every time I feel it.
Yeah,
because
it's worldwide. For me, it was a worldwide. Right.
And we are representing the world here. We are helping the world to understand.
Right. So
yes,
to the extent, for
Masami
me,
says we are in these storms.
right. So the value which helps me pull out of other people's feelings is beauty. So that may be a leaf blowing in the wind, whatever it is. Choose your value that you hold dear and look for it. That's all I'm going to say, and I'm going to mute myself. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. And let's see, is there anyone else that has anything to share about that? I don't want to spend too much time on each of them, or we'll we're trying to stay respectful of everybody's time.
Renee said, when we look at others and what they have, it keeps us from fulfilling our own happiness. And so that's all.
Okay.
Let's go on to the next one.
Okay.
Cindy, hold on. I just wanted to mention the first chakra is about the center of equilibrium and stability and grounding. So when we're in that place of envy, all that I just listed are gone. You don't feel stable. You will feel like you're ripped apart. You don't feel like you belong. So there's a lot of disconnect that we're experiencing from the first chakra, which is a very rooted chakra. We're kind of getting pulled out, just as if trees are being uprooted. So I just wanted to say that. That's the feeling that if you're more of a physically experience these things like I do, you might be feeling that right now. And this is why I mentioned in June forecast is that many of us will be feeling things in our hips, but sacrum and then feet and legs. They will feel very unstable, and you might feel some pain in our lower bodies. So just wanted to
Kim just said that she was feeling that despair too, Masami. So yeah, we're feeling that it's like someone's trying to pull the rug out from under us. So we have no stability. That's kind of what it feels like. And Patricia said, yes, uprooted. Yep. Uprooted like a storm uproots trees, and it's uprooting us. And we'll talk more about this on Thursday, by the way. So the next one is willful ignorance. And this one, really, all of them is willful, have willful ignorance in them. Willful ignorance is a choice. And so I kept hearing that so loud. There is so much willful ignorance. And so I wrote it down as the second one, but it never felt right. And when I called Masami, I said, or texted her, I said, this one is not right, but I can't hear it because willful ignorance is so loud. And what I came to understand is that willful ignorance, even in love, there's willful ignorance. If we look at the world and say, oh, I'm just sending out love there, I'm not looking at that, I'm not looking at that, I'm ignoring all that stuff, that's willful ignorance. And I didn't fully understand that until we, I stepped back from it to look at this storm. It's in every single storm. And even love can become a storm with willful ignorance. Does that make sense, Masami?
Yes, that's what I was saying this morning to you is that when I tuned into that, it didn't quite fit the second, but it's what underlies, it's underneath all that. So that undercurrent is the willful ignorance that leads to the next storm, because we're not waking up. We're not looking our own ignorance, what's going on in the world. So it continues to take us through 7 storms. So I think, Cindy, maybe we should go to the 3 and then go all the way to 7 and come back.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. Yeah. And one of the first thing that I channeled from God, a quote directly from God, is your discomfort with the truth does not make it false. And so how many of us want to just think the good of something, and we go there so fast, and someone else's truth might be hunger, it might be, extreme poverty. So us not looking at that does not make that not there. I hope I'm explaining this correctly. Let's go on to the third one, which is deceit. And deceit is an invisible storm. And willful ignorance, I want to go back to that word because it's so big through all of these. I didn't see it as much in envy as I do in all the others. But it definitely is in deceit, because we can allow ourselves to be deceived with willful ignorance. And it is the total destruction, or the absolute destruction is how it came across, of truth. You want to go ahead? I'm sorry, I was just reading. Cherry says, in Buddhism, I believe ignorance is one of the big underlying issues. Yes.
It is. Yeah. It is. Yeah. And willful ignorance is probably even more powerful than just simply being ignorant.
Yeah.
Because
Because ignorance is not knowing, and not knowing that's not even a bad thing. People have made it a bad word, but you know, folks, I'm ignorant about so many things. Look how ignorant I was of Ferris's job when I had to try and do it, and I haven't done a great job. And but I've tried my best, and so you know, that it just is. But now I'm not ignorant. I actually know a lot more about what he does. So I've educated myself. That is not in and of itself a bad thing. But when you are willfully ignorant, that's when it becomes bad. And that's when we are deceiving ourselves.
Absolutely. Yeah. That's why the willful, when we talked on the phone, you said that word is so strong. You said that's the most important word before ignorance.
Yeah.
So I think it's important to put those two words together. And that's the undercurrent of all seven storms. And if we can just move through that knowingly, be helpful. That it's not just you're simply ignorant, but you're willfully choosing to ignore.
Yeah.
So
You're choosing not to see.
yeah, exactly. So deceit is, you know, when you said it, I really felt it in my third chakra. So I felt heat in my stomach right at the solar plexus area, because deceit is not deceit necessarily, but third chakra is your inner knowing, is your search for truth. It's you knowing what is truly feels right to you in your heart center, not heart center, but the third chakra. And it's a sense of freedom that you feel. The sense of freedom is being asked of us to say, are we really free right now? The deception of freedom is starting to come up right now, and especially in this country. We say that this is a land of freedom, or, it's a place to find freedom. But as an immigrant, I don't necessarily feel that. There's freedom seems to be given to a handful of somebody. And I am asking and questioning that sense. So that the third chakra, the deception, the deceit is, we're having to challenge our personal power. The government's challenging what is ours and what is not. Do we get to really choose? Because third chakra is all about your choices and knowing, and your self-confidence and moving forward, knowing what truth is. But that is being asked of us to recheck, to question, and then getting upside down. So being uprooted means we're upside down. So chakra system is almost, we've been, turned like this.
Like the uprooted trees
like,
after a storm.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
Yeah, we're being uprooted. But one of the things as a gardener that I do is I propagate. Mm-hmm. And, from other cuttings, I start anew. And, I watch it get roots and get grounded and get stronger and then grow into this beautiful plant. So each one of us can propagate, so to speak, for lack of a better way to say that.
Well, and then, I think the word deceit is same as it's a fraudulent, like false, right? So we're starting to see falsehoods in the systems, the systemic racism. There's a systemic racism behind all this as well. And so we're starting to see what we thought was to be true. We need to question that. And we're being asked to question the system. So that's kind of what I was thinking when you said the deceit, deception or deceit.
And the word comes up, inadequacy. Mm. When somebody's feeling inadequate in some way, they like to overpower other people. And from that overpowering comes the deceit. So, as a woman, I've experienced this many times, or shared this many times, that I also felt that where people in power, particularly the police, made me feel inadequate by, after a beating, being told, what did you do to deserve this? What did you do? So for years, I felt inadequate. I didn't feel free. I didn't feel free to speak my mind. I didn't feel free to be the greatness of who I am. I was liberated, though, by the divine, but I didn't feel that way early on. I didn't know. I also understand that I needed to experience that so that I could see that when others are experiencing those things.
Well, and in the third chakra is about knowing the greatness of who you are. This is where self-esteem is developed. This is the self-knowing. This is the place that you mobilize yourself forward with. So that's been questioned. That's getting, I mean, the storm is coming through that space as well. Yes. So it's the feeling of, are the police really protecting us? Is the system equal, really? Do we really have the land of freedom? I mean, we're having to ask all these things that we just took it for, believing that that's where we lived, but that's perhaps not. And that's what the storm is asking of us, to re-question, to revisit these fundamentals that we thought were there. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Okay.
I agree with that. And again, these storms are uprooting things that we thought we knew and understood. Do we have any questions or comments about that?
No, nothing else.
Okay. All right. The fourth one is division. And, when I saw this, I don't think of an earthquake as a storm, but I guess it is, because it kept coming through as an earthquake. Division, you're on this side and I am on this side. When the earth cracks open, people fall into this chasm that is racism and judgment and I'm better than you, and I have more wealth than you, so therefore I'm better. I kept seeing as an earthquake, and the earth swallowing some people, and then on one side one person is saying something, and then on the other side this person is saying something else, and they're clashing. So there's a division there, and we are seeing division everywhere. And it is the absolute destruction of unity. So what would you like to say about that? And this is at the heart of what is going on, isn't it? And that would be the heart chakra.
Absolutely. When you said the word division, I said, this is fourth chakra. I feel like my heart's getting ripped to pieces and pull apart. And this is when you, Cindy, mentioned about the Trevor Noah's book, which I actually ordered, Born a Crime.
It's amazing. Everybody, I want to ask everyone to please read that book. Not only is it entertaining because he's a funny guy, the understanding of what prejudice can do and how you can come out of that is amazing. What a wise man. I love him.
So the book name is Born a Crime, and I actually just listened to the first part of it yesterday, and I just ordered the book as, but
in Audible, is that where you got it? Yeah, I listened to it.
And then I just ordered the book itself too, so I can write all around it. But he was talking about the apartheid, and apartheid, is to separate. So when you talked about this book, it fit perfectly with this fourth storm of dividing. And this is when we talked about a little bit about zebra, so maybe I'll mention that a little bit here. But it was so interesting when Cindy said a couple of weeks ago, the zebra appeared. And I thought, I connect with that zebra. I am part of that zebra. I am the zebra, and there are other zebras out there. But the zebra is basically, to me, it's like someone like me that really don't belong anywhere. I'm half something and half something else. And I'm a striped person. I always have been a striped person. I don't belong in one culture or the other. I speak two languages. I come from two very different worlds. And, you know, Trevor Noah is kind of like that, right? Half black and half white. And I'm half yellow and I'm half white. And so the division is felt so deeply right now as the nations and as the world is dividing between not just colors, but the economical differences. Even the COVID-19, what that is doing to our society is it's really impacting the people of color and then elderly. And it's not impacting
And
as
the poor.
much as young. Yeah, and the poor, exactly. So economically, it's dividing people. So that division is strongly felt. And what I felt and what I said to Cindy last night is that when you're half something and when you carry two cultures and two passports and then two completely different worlds, we are somewhat the minority of the minority because we really don't belong anywhere. And all my life it's been asked, are you Japanese? Are you an American? I experienced tremendous amount of racism growing up in Japan. And I grew up in a southern island. So I was the furthest point from Tokyo. There were no trains that would go close, you know, quickly to where I grew up. So the racism that I experienced was rampant. Every single morning was this complete breakdown that I had to go through because name calling, people will come and just randomly touch me. I was kind of like a zoo animal. They just wanted to pet me because I was very different looking. And I talk about these things and people just kind of coil back. They say, oh, really? They don't want to hear it. So it's the willful ignorance that comes through. They want to just ignore that knowingly, knowing I'm not making this up. This was my life. Get rocks thrown at, fingers pointed, derogatory names all day because I was a mutt. You know, if I were just one race, it would have been a very different story. But I was a mixture. But this mixture, the zebras of the world are going to lead us through this storm and take us into a different place. I tell you this because we're the minorities of the minorities and we are constantly ripped apart. We don't know where we belong. Belonging has been a major challenge, but I've given up on this idea of fitting in because I don't fit in. Okay. That doesn't matter to me anymore. But within I wanted to fit in. I wanted to be part of people. So that's why I didn't let people know that I was intuitive. You know, I didn't let people know that I come from another place. And then to fast forward, I moved to the northern part of Minnesota when I first moved to this country, and I lived with two foster homes. And when I lived in a northern part of Minnesota, which is considered to be Appalachia of the North. So it's a mining country. This is where the iron ore are, you know, dug out of the ground, and then they get sent through the Lake Superior towards Detroit to make automobiles. But it was in the height of the anti-Asian crisis that we were experiencing in this country. That's when I moved here, and I didn't speak a word of English. And people were anti-me. So all of a sudden I go from anti-me in Japan and I go to another place that they hated me because I took the jobs away from these miners and the mines were shutting down and they would smash the Toyota, they would smash any Japanese cars. Nobody, still to this day, nobody will dare to drive a Japanese car up there. So I went from one extreme to another, getting completely divided, not knowing where I belonged. But that's kind of what's happening to all of us right now, to all of us. The country's getting torn apart piece by piece. And so more so important for all of us to find a way to be grounded, to be in the center of the storm and really do these storms and not get thrown off into the storms, but listen to it, feel it, go into it, but know that you can still maintain this place of grounded, peaceful place. That's, I wanted to just give you a sense of that, because it's so easy to get thrown into the despair and then get thrown into getting pulled apart. It's so easy to go there. So let's all of us just take a moment, know that you're grounded, know that you belong to you, and you belong to this group, and you belong to this earth, and we belong to one another. We may not fit in, and I don't care about that. I don't need to fit in, but know that we belong. And that's what Zebra's job is to wear that stripe with pride and love and joy and stand in the front of the storm and say, we can do this. Let's stripe ourselves up.
This just gives me goosebumps all over. For those of you who weren't here before, didn't see the other video, Zebra started showing up even before, quite a bit before the racism that we have seen recently, and the killing of George Floyd, Perry, he's known as Perry, and Perry. One day I went to the World Viewing Room. I came here to the World Viewing Room, and a zebra was there, just a zebra. And then I went for a motorcycle ride, and Zebra pulled up next to me on a motorcycle, and Zebra was then a man, and we had a conversation during the whole time that that I was on the motorcycle ride. It was amazing, the things that he shared. And he said in a previous life, he was a zebra, and in that life, he was loved unconditionally. He was thought to be beautiful. And so he decided to come back as a man. And at first I took the markings on his arms as tattoos, and then realized that he had vitiligo, which is a skin issue where you have deep pigmentation. And so he had a lot of, really white spots, and then dark, and, and part of his neck on his face. He did have some tattoos too, but mostly it was the vitiligo that I noticed. And he said, so I came here as a zebra, and I was shunned, and I was discriminated against, and bullied, and, all of these things. And he said, so I became a wrestler so that what my uniqueness would fit in. That's why he became a wrestler. And so we had this conversation. And so he is in the World Viewing Room a lot, and he is with Perry right now. They stand there together, and they talk about their uniqueness, what makes them different, and what has caused the division. Mm-hmm. And it is, all of this that we are seeing is pretty darn amazing, that a zebra represented this. I mean, it was, that showed up. It was cool. So that we can get through these, I'm going to go ahead and move on, and we'll Andrew, go ahead and read the comments real quick.
Okay.
And then we'll move on.
Yeah. Kim says, so it's someone who chooses to hold the light and uplift humanity, and believes without question that light will overcome the dark, and from the darkness we will always rise to a greater expression. How do we navigate life right now, where many have stepped into and claiming their true potential, and yet so many are not? The division that you are speaking of, the split of the earth. Masami says her heart feels ripped apart. This is the challenge right now. I have never felt this before, feeling the collective deep despair, anxiety, and fear of the uncertainty. I never felt affected before by the collective energy or energy of what was happening astrologically, etc. It was challenging to hold the light and be the light. Kim says, the last I meant to say, I didn't find it challenging at all to hold the light and be the light, but just in the last few days, feeling consumed by the despair and fear, anxiety of the uncertainty and the division of the collective. Patricia says, the tribal part of us want so much to belong at all costs, we often lose ourselves in the effort. Monroe says, much of my family is multicultural. So is mine, Monroe.
Ours too.
So I think we're gonna, because we're gonna be talking on Thursday, I think we should just go,
Go through the rest. And I want to say,
we'll go through
I want to say this too, about the division. And that is, even if we are willfully ignorant and we say, oh, I'm just sending love and I'm not going to look at it and I'm not going to watch the news and I don't want to know what's going on. And I hear people say that. And what I keep hearing, folks, is to go to the center of the storm and not to ignore the storm, because that's willful ignorance and it keeps coming up so strong. And so that doesn't mean ride in the storm unless you are being called to be part of the fight for this change, to be part of this journey of the change. Then don't ignore it though. And each one of you that are saying, I have been feeling that despair, you're still feeling it. Even if you don't watch the news, even if you don't actively know what's going on, you're going to feel it because it is so big. We are in the middle of a storm and it's going to create amazing change. And we are going to be guided by 7 angels. And I think Linda just said, what about the 7 angels? And that's not for today. That's a talk for another time. And then the 7 plagues, somebody mentioned just a moment ago, the 7 plagues, Uriel is referring to them as the 7 storms. And I don't know that, I think that they're one and the same. And I haven't got clarity on that. Well, not everything's coming at once. It's coming in pieces for us to fully absorb and understand and to talk about as a group. So, and I'm also told that all of this is going to be in print.
And Cindy, I know you need to move on, but I just wanted to say one thing, everyone, is that the 4th chakra division is a very painful place because it's in the heart center.
Yeah.
However, the gesture of prayer, the namaste or the prayer, it is to bring you back together into this moment. This is where the practice of prayer, that's what keeps coming to me. The practice of prayer is going to be so important. Much more than I can even describe to you how important this is. And
that's why we've got to keep the wave going.
Yes. And in the prayer, it stems from the Latin word precari, and it means ask earnestly. So it's not asking like it's not asking to have like, Santa, Santa, please give me a X, Y, and Z for Christmas. That's not prayer is, but it's to show up to the moment, bringing your left and right, your light and darkness together. And this is when you have to feel your darkness. This is what I said to Cindy yesterday. I said, I want to talk about racism because it's one thing to say racism exists, but to really experience that on the physical level is powerfully difficult. And I am, as what's going on in this country really impacts my physical body, because I didn't realize how much of that racism I pulled into my body. It's in my cellular memory, and that's slowly coming out. So the only way that I can move through this right now is through prayer. And it's an earnest, honest, asking for assistance, asking for not for more things. It's not even asking for peace and joy and happiness, but it is actually just saying, dear God, please just elevate my vibration so that I can show up as that vibrational light. That's what you're praying for. You're not praying to say, let these things get resolved. Let's make sure that the president, whatever you want to finish the sentence with. It's not specific like that. It's actually much bigger than that, because we don't know what the outcome is, but you're asking to be elevated as a vibrational being. And that's what you're doing, so you can collect others that are higher vibration, and we lift ourselves up together. The togetherness is the form of prayer. Prayer is done alone, but you do it collectively. That's what's been asked of us, to come back and pray. Bring your hands towards each other's vibration together, so we can shoot up. So that's what I wanted to say about the prayer.
Ends the division.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah. It brings the sides together. And remember, we have someone who was willing to experience the opening of the heart. We witnessed it. We all walked through it, that open heart surgery with Ferris, which was one of the worst cases that they have ever seen, that these doctors have worked on. He was open for 3 days. And you know, he took it on physically, so that we can witness the miracles of opening the heart and ending the division. Mm-hmm. So it's an extraordinary journey that we've all been witness to. The fifth is prejudice, which is a virus. It is a virus that is rampant right now, and it takes down lives. It is the absolute destruction of acceptance. And, you know, there's this argument about, well, it should be in the workplace. They say tolerance. No, there is resistance with tolerance. There is resistance. Acceptance is light. It is high vibrational. And when we have prejudice, it is the absolute destruction of acceptance. Masami?
Just quickly, this, I think all of us can feel it in our throat. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it just squeezes you when you start speaking about that. Even the word tolerance, you know, you're correct. Tolerance stems from,
when you say it, it goes tolerance.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Tolerance stems from prejudice, right? We're separating people. We're putting into different categories, but we're saying, let's tolerate the different groups. So and the prejudice is often spoken through our throat. We use our voices, and we use because the fifth chakra is connected to your hands and connected to your arms. We sign different programs and different governmental, policies based on prejudice. So we are signing and speaking prejudice. So that's the storm that we're in. The storm isn't coming. We're in it. We've been in it. Yeah. So I want all of you, I mean, if you are able to feel it in your body, you'll feel it. You'll have a hard time even swallowing right now.
That's the lump. And I've had that problem yesterday. I was choking on everything.
Okay. Yeah. So you feel it, that you will have a hard time even swallowing supplements, or you'll have a hard time, your throat feels dry. You are literally feeling this prejudice in your body. And you might be feeling arthritis come up. Your joints hurt. Your fingers feel a little bit swollen. Maybe edema in your fingers are coming up. Those are some of the signs that you're literally experiencing storm in your body. So, yeah.
And I agree. And we see it. We're seeing it everywhere. We're seeing it everywhere. And the next one, 6, is judgment. Judgment is, I mean, this is a storm that's completely out of control for people, because they don't understand that judgment should be discernment. And we use judgment to destroy. And it is the absolute destruction of compassion. So what would you like to say about judgment?
Yeah, and then this was Yeah, and this was a month ago or so, Cindy, when you and I first started talking. We came up with this idea about discernment, and we are so lacking in discernment, the inner discernment, knowing what to see. And then so the seeing center, which is your third the third eye. Our third eyes have what I sense what's going on in this world is I feel like there's a film over, like a sticky stuff over your third eye. We need to clear this out. We need to open this up, but we're not seeing through the world. So we judge. We, number one, judge with our eyes, because eyes, our vision, we get the most information from. 80 to 90% of your information these days are coming through the screen, coming through seeing things. So we're seeing it through judgmental eye, the film over. So we're not seeing things clearly. We're no longer able to decipher and discern what's the trueness of that message that's coming to us. So it is helpful physiologically, if you really want to work on this storm, particularly if it resonates with you, is to do a little more closing your eyes and expand your other senses. This is something I talked about in my group yesterday, is to do a morning routine that you actually close your eyes and then taste the morning. You just wait and taste it. And what that means is you just close your eyes so that you can be in the moment of tasting what today is. And then next you keep your eyes closed and you move to your hearing. Can you hear clearly what this morning is, what this day is bringing for you? This is a morning practice, by the way. Mm-hmm. And then the next is you keep your eyes closed and you go to the skin level and feel. Can you feel the air entering in through the nostrils and coming out when it's slightly warmer than when you took the breath in? So it's to cultivate other senses and keep your eyes closed and connect with your intuitions, connect with your guides. So don't involve your eyes so much, because our judgment, unfortunately right now, is coming through our vision. So closing that and getting in touch with others, other senses will really, really help. You know, people who cannot see. I mean, the children I actually learned that the children, babies will start to distinguish different colors and different rays right around 6 months old, which is really young. So we need to take all ourselves back to the place prior to that. And then I have known many amazing people who are blind, and they don't see me as striped zebra. And the presence of them is always extremely healing. So sometimes we need to go through the day closing our eyes and getting the senses of who we are as collective through other senses, because we have really fatigued other senses besides our vision. So that's, I just wanted to say that about the body. Thank you.
One of the most beautiful things for me to experience, and I've said this again and again, is placing people in the prayer wave. And I get to, at a time when we can't touch, I get to touch people. Dee, I got to touch you. I got to, when I placed you in the water, you know, when I placed Linda's parents in the water, I got to touch them. I've never met them, but I have touched them. And I felt their love, and I felt their life experiences. And I just, you know, I just felt this complete beauty of the beings that they are. And I get to do that every day, and it's so grounding for me. And I place them in the water, and I'm a Pisces, so, you know, water is meaningful, and the wave now is appearing as water, like a baptism, that bathing in healing, the healing waters is what it feels like as I place them in. And sometimes I just hold them for a moment, and it feels so good. It feels remarkable. And even in their brokenness, I feel their perfection. And it's beautiful. It's healing.
Yes.
And
Cindy, you know,
and I feel compassion, you know.
When you first started, you had us hold each other's hands, and I literally felt all the hands. And that's, so for my morning practice, I am going to add that. I am going to add as if I'm holding each other's hands, all of our hands together. And that's the senses that we need to cultivate.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we can envision this. We can envision how to come out of these storms together. But envisioning often will happen now by you closing your actual eyes and really seeing through the inner eyes and truly clear that third eye. Move that film over, the sticky stuff out. And one of the really good yogic ways to do that, everyone, is to do a breath of fire. And I don't know many of you know how to do breath of fire, but the breath of fire is a way to burn things that are unnecessary or the sticky film. So doing the breath of fire looks like this. It just goes. So you can look this up online and maybe learn to do that. You don't need to do them that fast, everyone. You could do it slowly, like.
Yeah, you restrict at the back of the throat just a little bit as you.
And then you imagine you're blowing it out of your nostrils. And
think of a dragon.
That creates a heat. Yeah, you're right. It creates a heat and mobilizes your kundalini, and then it literally clears the third eye because it's sticky. It feels really wet and sticky, mucusy to me right now. That's what I see. So let's burn that and open it up, clear it out, dry it out so that you can actually envision the world differently.
Yeah.
Thanks.
And again, judgment in and of itself is not a bad thing. You've got to judge, do I have enough time to pull into traffic? Do I, do I buy this, new washing machine? Is it the best one? That there is knowledge with judgment. It is judgment that is to condemn, to make less than. That is a poison. That is a storm that we're seeing a lot. And the seventh one, rebellion for rebellion's sake. Rebellion because you say, you know what? I don't care what anybody says about me anymore. I'm a zebra and I accept that about me. That is loving rebellion. I don't care. I am going to be who I am. I think of my friend Nancy Moran in her song, This Is Who I Am. And I sing it all the time. I told her I stole her song. This is who I am. What you see is what you get. This is what I do for a living. So it's just a beautiful song. And I sing it all the time. And I love this song. And there's a rebellion that is just a self-accepting. I embrace who I am. I embrace my zebra, my inner zebra. There is that. And then there's the rebellion for rebellion's sake. I'm going to torch and burn and destroy. I'm going to, defy the law and defy the universe and defy, it's angry and it completely destroys. And it completely destroys order. It is the absolute destruction of order. And what is the crown chakra? Masami. And it was funny, by the way, everybody, when we talked yesterday, she said, because they all came to me and she said, I wasn't supposed to help you write them. They were given to you. I am supposed to help you understand them and to take the role of support. And I did not know at the time that these came that they aligned with the chakras. I had no idea. So Masami, you want to talk about rebellion?
Yeah.
For rebellion's sake?
You channeled this, these. And what I felt very strongly was to be on the supportive role, to because I move through my physiological body so much, that's where I can support all of us and in feeling it, and to have some practice around it. So we have tools that we can share with others and move through the storms together. And so that's what I felt like. That's where my position is. It's not to channel these with you, but you are the channeler of these. Just so you know, everyone, these all came from her. And when she read them, I felt it all across my, just a boom, 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 boom. I felt them in my chakras. And I said, did you know that these correspond? And, you know, Cindy said, I didn't think that way, but I felt it in my body. So when you're talking about rebellion, you know, I would love to hear what you say, what you think, Cindy. My inner guide said, sing and dance instead of rebelling. Sing and dance. Fill the streets with music. Fill the streets like Martin Luther King did. You know, sing together, march together with music and dancing. That's what is going to take us away from that place of that seventh storm. The rebellion to me is we're rebelling against the system right now so that we can connect directly to the divine, because the seventh chakra is all about the words that come to me is I am. Mm-hmm. I am. Mm-hmm. I am God. Be still and know that the I am. Yeah. That's what seventh chakra is. So, but I feel like be still, but sing and dance and know that the I am. That's the rebellion that we need to be entering in together. What does it say? I can't.
Yeah, I just posted this up here so that I could clearly look at it. And enlightenment, understanding, cosmic, I can't see, it's kind of blurry. Oh, consciousness, cosmic consciousness, enlightenment, understanding. That is the crown. The crown.
It's truly the expression of unconditional love. Truly, the brightest light of love. And we get there in a way we are rebelling. So many of us are rebelling against what's been fed to us. The division that's been fed to us, the uprootedness that we've all experienced, and the envy that we are working through our own bodies, because we all have them, and the deceit that we've been fed, and the judgment that we've all experienced and have uttered. You know, maybe in silence what we have uttered. We might have signed a contract not knowing that that's what you signed. So we've all been doing this. We're all in this storm together. This isn't something that was fed to us or given to us, or we're the victim of it. We have co-created these storms. But the rebellion is when we wake up and say, we are going to no longer willfully ignore this, or just not knowing ignore this, but we're going to rebel against what we've been fed and what we've been living, and we're going to wake up because we have cleared the third eye. We're ready to wake up to this unconditional highest level of love. And so this is the time to rejoice, actually. It's the time to sing. It's the time to dance. It's the time to put your Christmas lights up and light up your life. That's the rebellion that we're in.
That's the rebellion that we want, not the rebellion of destruction.
Not at all.
The rebellion that builds a new future, that builds hope.
Yeah.
One rebellion for rebellion's sake is willful ignorance. I keep going back to that. That's why it feels like that is more of an umbrella than actually the second chakra. The second storm.
Yeah.
So
I love what Mary Ann just said. We must be rebels. We must rebel to wake up out of the dream. Yes, we have been asleep. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and some of us are willfully still staying asleep.
Yeah.
So clean up your third chakra. Let's all of us wake up.
Open that. Mm-hmm. And open that.
I'm sorry, third eye. I meant. Yeah.
The third eye. Yeah.
Yes.
And again, I want to remind everybody, we are being asked to sit in the eye of the storm because you're safe there and you can see it and you can venture out from that eye. You can venture out if you so choose to act in some way. One of the things that I did, I can't go out and be the activist person that I am and peacefully protest. I can't do that. I have someone who just had open heart surgery here. I can't go out. So I'm pretty much grounded. I got to be home. And the other family members are going out for us. And then when they come in, they actually wear masks in the house because they don't know who they come contact with. They're still taking off their shoes at the door and throwing their clothes in the dryer right away. And, those kinds of things. And I'm here and observing. And my way of acting is to put on this peace sign that just showed up in a box yesterday, to wear the shirt that I wore, Together We Stand, or Together We Rise, the t-shirt that I had on Friday night. And, I found that and I thought, yes, because it speaks to me. It speaks the message that Marianne Williamson spoke when I went to hear her in Atlanta. And it just, I've talked about this again and again because it just hit me. And I knew that was going to be important for us very soon. The people rose up, and we can rise up even if we don't venture out. We can still rise up and we can take a stand. And, but we can take that stand in unconditional love, because love alone is not going to do it, because love can be blind, and with love comes willful ignorance. I'm just going to send love into it and willfully be ignorant of what's going on in the world. I didn't understand that at first. It is the unconditional love that we need right now to keep our eyes open to what's going on and still love, even the people that seem unlovable. We can still love them unconditionally from a soul level. We might not be able to do it from an earth plane, but we can from a soul level. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. I just said we stand together for love, rebellion for love, letting love become viral. So that's,
yeah, unconditional love.
Yes, that's the rebellion we're on.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So that's the kind of rebellion that we want, because that rebellion's formed from love, not from hate, not from destruction.
When you do feel that despair, everyone, which we are, Cindy and I are both feeling it with you. I think it is important to imagine what Cindy took us through, holding each other's hands. Just hold each other's hands in your vision. That really helps you to release some of that energy that's flowing up. The emotional energies that we're feeling, it's moving up very fast right now. So make sure you hold each other's hands and ground yourself again. And if it feels too painful, too overwhelming for you, these emotions, take your shoes off, socks off, and step on some earthly space. So it could be a grass, it could be pavement is okay. Maybe rocky places. If you have a river nearby, stick your feet in there. Ways that you can disperse that, because you don't want to disperse some of these very painful emotions upward. That creates heat, and that's what Cindy's experiencing. So it's important. I forgot to mention this, Cindy, but sticking your feet directly into a bucket of cold, ice cold water is extremely helpful for somebody to feel the heat that goes upward. It makes sense that you're feeling so much heat, because you're collectively feeling all of our emotions right now. So soak your feet in a cold water and see if you could bring your blood flow downward. So. Yeah.
Thank you for that. Yesterday, my heart kept racing. I couldn't even do a lot. Everybody had to work without me, physically work without me. I was working, but not. I couldn't do a lot because my heart was staying at about 100 most of the day, and I was feeling extreme heat. And Ferris has to have it warm in the house because he's cold. I mean, he's he was up to 120 pounds this morning, so his weight's kind of going up and down, but. His weight is starting to come up. But Penny said, and let me see, Monday was a really bad day for me with despair. See, we're all feeling it, even if we don't watch the news. And by the way, I want to clarify this. I'm not saying stay glued to the news. Just don't be ignorant of what's going on. check into reputable sources, you know, to find out what's going on. I look at I like the New York Times. They pull a lot from local newspapers. They're one of my favorite, just to get a real brief, oh, this is what's going on in the world. And then I know where to put my energy. It's not about engulfing yourself in what's going on, because that can put you in a horrible state of despair. But if you tap into the energy of what other people are feeling without taking that on. But what I was told is that I needed to take that on so that I feel what others are feeling, the heat from other people. I had to feel that. And that despair is part of the second chakra, which we are going to be working on Thursday. We're going to talk more about this. I want to be respectful of everyone's time. And Masami, do you want to take us out of the world viewing room and bring us back down to Mother Earth? And
you know, I think maybe Cindy, please take us out of that space first, and I'll chime in at the end with the physical awareness.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right.
I wanted to say something.
Yes.
I've been feeling a lot of anxiety, and I've been waking up in the middle of the night with my heart just pounding.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm feeling it in a different way than maybe you other people are feeling it. And so I've been getting up and praying and using the violet flame to transmute those feelings. And I think I'm understanding now more why I'm feeling that anxiety.
And you know, you just said it, the second storm, you know, feels physical.
Yeah.
It feels, you know, Dee, it feels really physical.
Yeah, and it's and I finally get it under control, but it takes a while. And then and I'm also a Pisces, by the way.
Yeah, that's right.
I'm also a Pisces.
What is your moon?
Well, I think my rising is, I think it is Aquarius,
Oh, okay.
but I'm not 100%.
There's that rebellion.
Yeah. So, but yeah, I've been feeling a lot of anxiety and working on the anxiety and not understanding why I'm feeling all this anxiety. And Spirit says it doesn't belong to you.
Exactly. We're in the midst of the storm. These storms are raging all around us. We all know these and these storms, and we must not be willfully ignorant. That keeps coming up. Willful ignorance, you know, being deceived. Deception was another one that just appeared huge, you know, football field tall, and willful ignorance, a football field tall. And they are the creation of these storms that we are experiencing. And so together we can learn to understand them and get to a different place. So in respect to everyone's time, I want to go ahead and take us out of the world viewing room. We will, I'll read your comments after the fact and, you know, after the call here today, and then please join us on Thursday. Masami, can you be here on Thursday?
Yes, I will absolutely be here.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. Because it isn't me. It's coming through me. I am on myself am not that wise, but God is. And and the angels, when I channel them, they are wisdom. And we need to come together and unpack all that wisdom so that we can understand it from an earth point of view. So please join us on Thursday at 3 Eastern.
Cindy, you said exactly what I was trying to say yesterday, is that you're understanding it from the God's language. And then, but as human beings, we need a little bit of translators, you know, and that's what we're doing. And then the anxiety that Dolores has just expressed, we're all feeling, but the anxiety, the anxiousness actually gets fueled by not knowing. not knowing the future, not knowing why you feel. So hopefully this, what we shared today together with what Cindy shared will make you feel a little bit like there's an understanding towards you, understanding and the knowing where these are stemming from, these sensations, these feelings, anxieties, and despair that so many of us are feeling. Now there's a knowing. The knowing is very important for human beings because we're still occupying this earth and we need to satisfy that part of the brain so that we calm down, so the anxiety can calm down when we know. So I'm glad that you took us through this because this is helpful. This is the digestion that we need. We've been overstuffed by these emotions. We don't know how to chew them anymore. We don't know how to swallow them anymore. We don't know how to process and assimilate and to absorb these emotions. So what you were giving us is the way to digest them, to break them down so we can process these. So I'm glad that Dolores brought that up.
Yeah.
And thank you.
Thank you. That's beautiful.
Welcome.
Let's see. Anything else? Yes, it has been helpful to know that we're all experiencing the same thing, and we are. And we are the Soul Gang. We are part of the Earth Light Brigade, and we are surrounded here in the World Viewing Room, which is our center for spiritual living today. And as we experience these, I would like you to just look around at the light brigade surrounding us. The general is always to my left, and he is on a horse. And he sits tall, and very often he has a little boy on the horse with him. And the little boy was killed with friendly fire. And so he kind of looks out after him. And so I always see those two together. They're really good buds. And I see the love and that connection, even in the divine. You can see those really cool connections. So I want you to take a moment right now and just look around the World Viewing Center. Let's look at each other as the Earth Light Brigade that we are, the love that we are. And then look around at our Heavenly Light Brigade. They are taking our prayers into the prayer wave and keeping them moving. They are sending light into that prayer wave and help that light to continue to move. There is change around us, and we have to be present to that change. We cannot be willfully ignorant. Above the light brigade are the angels. And I see all of the archangels surrounding us here in the World Viewing Room. Because when we are here, whether together, when it's our center, or separately, when it's a room and we look out over the world, we are looking through the eyes of God. So take a moment and look through the eyes of God at each other, at the Light Brigade, at the angels. And let's hold hands. And together, let's land back here on Earth. And now feel your feet connect to the earth. And Masami,
And yes, and your hands pressing down gently on your thighs if you're sitting. And press your thighs up towards your hands for a moment. And then release that pressure. But your hands are still, if you can, place them on your thighs. And imagining your feet, your legs deepening, extending like roots into the center of this earth, this beautiful earth. Expand your roots out and reach the depth. Expand outward, front, back, side to side. Each other's roots will start to meet. So we're sharing this earth together. And as your trunk grows wider and taller, let the branches grow out of your heart center. Your arms are part of your tree branches, reaching for one another. Our branches are touching, they're intertwining, connecting with one another. We have become one giant organism. There's a giant tree with separate roots connecting, branches connecting, front, back, side to side, top branches connecting with one another. And as you breathe in, pull the earthly energy upward, the prana enters you, the light expands all throughout the tree branches, all the way out, reaching for one another. And let the light shine through the throat, through the third eye, and then out the crown chakra. Let that vibration shine, the unconditional love brightly shine. It's so bright, it's almost blinding. And take a moment and feel the skin of your own skin. Feel the air that is brushing against your skin. And then take a moment right now as you have your eyes closed. Taste this moment. Saliva is getting collected in your mouth. The nectar of love. And then take intentional swallow of that nectar of love. And it enters in. And take a moment and listen. Listen to the choir of love, the music of love, dancing of love, listening. And just sensing your whole entire being right now connected with one another, with love. And slowly coming back to your hands again, pressing your hands to your thighs. Thighs press back at you. You are here, you're this human body, you're this divine light. And then relax your legs, relax your hands. And as you slowly take a breath in and out, slowly opening your eyes, allow the light to come inside you. And hands together at the heart center. Truly praying, it's the prayer pose. Thank you. Namaste.
Thank you. Namaste. And let's unmute everybody. Hey, everybody, unmute yourselves. And we will continue this conversation on Thursday. I know it was a little longer today, but it needed to be to give us this. We're going to be talking about these for a while, these storms and what we can do. So I just want to thank you for being here. I love you all so much. I bask in your beauty when I look at you. And let's say thank you to Masami for being
Thank you,
here.
Masami.
Thank you, Masami.
Everybody.
Love you so
Thank you so much.
so much. Thank you.
Bye.
Have a great
Love
day.
you, everybody.